You haven't found the love of your life because you don't know how to make her remember you. My name's Josue, and I help shy young guys not only find their dream girl, but keep her and build something that lasts. In this video, I'm going to explain the 5 steps you need to take to start making killer first impressions. Let's begin. Rule 1. Get noticed the right way. Think about it like this. Let's imagine this graph is a representation of the first layer of how people notice and remember you. This y-axis represents how notable you are, while this x-axis represents how much effort you put in. You might think that this would turn into a direct diagonal line going upwards, right? Meaning the more effort you put in, the more people notice you. However, that's not true. What this turns into in reality is more of a U shape. Most people exist in this zone. Let's just use smell as an example. As time passes, we all know that we get stinky. And so as a result, you have to shower regularly to fix that. Thankfully, most people do, and as a result, most people tend to not smell like all that much. Cool. For most people, that's enough, and that's why they exist here. Because they put in some effort, we honestly just take it for granted. We don't really notice it. Over here, we have people who put in little to no effort, and they build up quite the stench. When it gets bad enough, they cross this gray dotted line and become known for their stench. You don't want to be here. Instead, you want to be over here. Here, you put in so much effort that you cross that gray dotted line and become known, but this time it's for your pleasant aroma. You can replace this with how you dress, what you talk about, or literally anything else, and it's still going to work with this graph. Here's the key. Choose an idea you want people to connect to you. Put the effort in, and then become known for it. When you do this, your reputation spreads, meaning that eventually, before you meet someone or before maybe even you walk into the room, you're going to have all sorts of other people saying all sorts of good things about you. By the time you walk in, you're a superstar, a legend. Now, let me ask you, if that were to happen for you, do you think that it would make it harder or easier for you to find your dream girl? Exactly. Rule 2. Aim for middling popularity. With that last step, you chose an idea that you want people to connect to you. But it's not as simple as all that. We need to see if that's a good idea because not all of them are created equally. Let's take a look at another graph. Here, the y-axis represents how popular an idea is, while the x-axis represents how much people will like you for liking that idea. Just like with the previous graph, we can split this into 3 zones. In zone 1, we have ideas that are very popular. This includes things like the show Breaking Bad, or things as simple as breathing air. In zone 3, on the other hand, we have things that are very niche, like supporting everything that Hitler did, or gooning to this photo in particular. In zone 1, it's stupidly easy to find someone in real life who likes Breaking Bad. It's pretty much at the top of every chart. And while that's cool, the problem is that because it's so popular, it doesn't really win you any social points for also liking it, for choosing that as what you're going to associate with you. Let's jump to the flip side. Over here, it's very hard to find someone in real life who openly says Hitler did nothing wrong. But if you did, and you truly believed that too, then it would be very easy to build a bond with that person because that is so rare. Really, we want to be aiming for zone 2. Here, we have a reasonable chance of finding people with similar interests and winning points with them when we do. Just as a disclaimer, this also means that some people are going to dislike you because you're associating yourself with ideas that are not super popular. And you know what? That's okay. Not everyone needs to like you. And honestly, to get into some in groups, you have to shun other out groups. That's just how it is. So just pick the one you want to be in. If you instead decide to sit on the fence and try to please everybody, you're going to end up pleasing nobody and get nothing for all of your effort. All right, we're making good progress, but stay with me because if you mess up this next rule, you're done for. Right before we do, I want to touch on a bonus point. And no, this is not a sponsorship. You're going to actually want to watch this. So there are really two different kinds of people who are watching this video right now. There are people who are honestly pretending to be self-improving and people who recognize that they genuinely need a change. If you're a part of that second group, then I have something for you. It's a list of over 50 hobbies and interests, and what's great about it is it integrates the things that we're talking about in this video to break down why some hobbies are amazing while others fail. Whether you're looking for new hobbies or just want to see where your current ones stack up, this is the perfect next step for anyone who's serious about changing their life. The best part is, it's free. If you're interested, go to the link in the pinned comment to snag your copy now. Back to the video. Rule 3, maximize engagement. Let's imagine you got really into solving Rubik's Cubes. Does that fit with the rules that we've laid out so far? Let's check. Intentional personality building? Check. Neither too popular nor too niche? Check. Seems pretty good, right? However, it's not because it doesn't fall in line with this third rule, maximize engagement. Let's look at 4 ways to do this. First, ask yourself if other people have to be nerds to understand what's going on. Discussing high-level mathematical concepts fails this test. However, something like performing magic tricks passes. Sure, the people who are watching that magic trick don't know the ins and outs of how exactly the trick works, but they can understand that at a basic level, their chosen card disappeared. Then, under seemingly impossible circumstances, it reappeared. Amazing. Next question. Ask yourself, can others enjoy the fruits of my labor? If you're really into reading comic books, the answer is no. However, if you love baking cakes and every time that someone hangs out with you, they get a sample of the latest one that you made, then definitely. The third way to maximize engagement is the most direct. Ask yourself, can another person participate in whatever my hobby or interest is with me? By definition, you can't play solitaire with someone else. If we switch that card game to Magic the Gathering, it becomes a different story. Do things together. It's bonding at its most basic level. But what if you can't? What if it's really hard to get the gang together and do cool stuff together just because of how adult schedules are? If that's the case, then just focus on talking about things together. But be careful because some topics build bonds while others kill them. The difference is simple. Avoid topics that are black and white. This is actually the secret to why talking about the weather is a terrible idea. If I comment on how nice the sun is shining or how terrible the rain has been, you're probably going to agree with me, but that's not going to turn into a discussion that goes on for way too long where we explore the meaning of life and grow closer because of it. Instead, talk about things with gray areas. Explore opinions, theories, and new ideas. Disagreement? That's gold for conversation. Hopefully by now your brain is bubbling with all sorts of great ideas. However, don't let me lose you because if you mess up this next rule, it's the easiest way to come off like a weirdo. Rule 4. Pick 3 to 5 ideas. Have you ever talked to somebody and honestly had a great conversation, but then the next time that you guys hung out together, you talked about the same thing again. Not a big deal, right? Well, it wasn't until the next time when you guys hung out again and ended up talking about the same thing. And when, you tried to steer the conversation to literally anything else, they didn't seem to want to do that. Rough. If you've never been in the situation, then count yourself lucky. Though, who knows? Maybe what you're more worried about is that you've been the person really stuck on just one topic. I know I've done that. In your journey of purposefully building your personality, make sure you choose more than one thing to focus on. Perhaps, though, that's not your issue. And instead, you have 13 to 25 different hobbies and ideas that you're planning on diving into head first. I'd pump the brakes on that too. If you try and connect yourself with too many ideas, you risk not being clearly connected to any of them. The sweet spot that I've found is around 3 to 5. I'd say start there and then experiment with what works best for you. If you've been following along, then you probably have a really good foundation for how to change your experience when it comes to first impressions. However, how can we make sure, or at least raise our chances, that the things that you have decided are going to be a part of your personality, that people are going to associate with you, are actually going to come up in conversation? This is especially important if you are more of an introvert. That's where our final rule comes into play. Rule 5. Passively signal association. The goal here is to give people the opportunity to recognize your hobbies and interests and to do so without ever having to open your mouth. That may sound tough, but it's actually easier than it sounds, I promise. And what's great is there are so many ways to do this well. First, you have to recognize that your car and especially your living space are canvases where you can paint your personality. You don't want to invite people over and have it look like you just moved in last week. That either gives off, I don't know who I am, I don't really care about putting effort in, or worse, serial killer vibes. Not good. Instead, I don't know, get a bobblehead or some cool tech for your car. Doesn't have to be super fancy or expensive, it just has to show off you. For where you live, frame posters of your favorite shows or movies or whatever. There's no sin greater than an empty wall. Even better than that, deck yourself out. If you smoke, get a really cool and personally meaningful lighter instead of some copy-paste thing that everyone else has. Get a ring, a necklace, both. Tattoos work really well too. If you want to go maximalist, you can instead start collecting pins that show off your interests in a way that catches the light. You can also swap that for patches or stickers if that's more your thing. The endless are options. Wait, my favorite place to start looking for pretty much any of the things that I mentioned and more is Etsy. They have a crazy selection of things that you'll probably not find anywhere else. Now you know everything you need to radically transform your experience the next time you get the opportunity to meet new people. However, if you're excited but also thinking, but it's hard, then I just want to remind you about the list that I mentioned earlier. All you have to do to get access to it is go to the link in the pinned comment. Also, there are a few things that I didn't mention in this video that I include in that list, so definitely check it out. Oh, and by the way, if you want my recommendations on the best and worst places to meet your dream girl, then you're going to want to check out this video right here. Snag your copy of the list, and I'll see you there.